Start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shlokir bhaktir bhavati neshtiki. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Caitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakarajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirviseshasha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we continue our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 2, Chapter 6, and today we are starting with text 34. So, Na Bharati me anga mrishopalakshayate na ve kvachin me manaso mrishagatihi na me rishikani patanti asatpathe yan me hridau kanthayat vatadhrito harihi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Narad, because I have caught hold of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, with great zeal, whatever I say has never proved to have been false, nor is the progress of my mind ever deterred, nor are my senses ever degraded by temporary attachment to matter. Lord Brahma is the original speaker of Vedic wisdom to Narad, and Narad is the distributor of transcendental knowledge all over the world through his various disciples like Vyasadeva and others. The followers of the Vedic wisdom accept the statements of Brahmaji as gospel truth, and transcendental knowledge is thus being distributed all over the world by the process of disciplic succession from time immemorial, since the beginning of the creation. So Brahmaji, he first heard the Vedas from Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna spoke to him the Vedas in his heart. And then Lord Brahma is speaking to, so to Narad Muni. And then Narad Muni spoke to his disciples, Vyasadev, and his other disciples. And then Vyasadev, of course, compiled it for our benefit. He recorded it in writing. Before it was just heard. And then Vedic knowledge, the followers of the Vedas, whatever Brahmaji say, they accept it as truth because it is beyond any mistakes of the four human beings that we commit. It is transcendental knowledge. Lord Brahma is the perfect liberated living being within the material world, and any sincere student of transcendental knowledge must accept the words and statements of Brahmaji as infallible. So we can see, even for our material knowledge, if we want to gain some knowledge in math, then we are doing some PhD in math, we follow a particular math professor, and whatever he teaches us, we accept it. Even when we are in school, even when we just started schooling, our teacher taught us A, B, C, D. Even though we didn't understand it, we accepted it as truth. Accepted what the teacher is teaching me, I have faith, and we learned our A, B, C. Then, even though we didn't understand what is it about, only later we realized, oh, with ABC, we can make words, we can read, we can write. So same way, the followers of Vedic knowledge, they accept Lord Brahma's teachings as perfect because it's coming from the Supreme Lord itself. The Vedic knowledge is infallible because it comes down directly from the Supreme Lord unto the heart of Brahma. And since he is the most perfect living being, Brahmaji is always correct to the letter. And this is because Lord Brahma is a great devotee of the Lord who has earnestly accepted the lotus feet of the Lord as the supreme truth. So whatever Brahmaji is saying is the truth because he's a pure devotee. He has fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita, which is compiled by Brahmaji, he repeats the aphorism, Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. I am worshipper of the original personality of Godhead, Govinda, the primeval Lord. So whatever he says, whatever he thinks, and whatever he does normally in his mood are to be accepted as truth because of his direct and very intimate connection with Govinda, the primeval Lord. So Lord Brahma in his Brahma Samhita, he says that he is worshipping Krishna, he is worshipping Govinda, and that Govinda is the original personality of Godhead, that he is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's the one who everything starts from. Sri Govinda, who pleasingly accepts the loving transcendental service of his devotees, gives all protection to the words and actions of his devotees. The Lord declares in the Bhagavad Gita 9.31, Kaunteya pratijanihi, O son of Kunti, please declare it. The Lord asks Arjuna to declare. And why? Because sometimes the declaration of Govinda himself may seem contradictory to mundane creatures. But the mundaner will never find any contradiction in the words of the Lord's devotees. So Krishna, he makes sure that what his devotees say comes true. He makes sure of that. He does not care about his own words or actions. Of course, he's beyond reproach. All his actions and words are all auspicious for everyone. But he makes sure that his devotees' words are protected. And that's why in Bhagavad Gita, he tells to Arjuna, you declare, Arjuna, you tell the world that one who becomes my devotee never perishes, that Krishna protects his devotee. So we can see with the pastime where Krishna had vowed that during the battle of Kurukshetra, he's not going to pick up a weapon. But Bhishma Dev, who's also a devotee of Krishna, had taken a vow that that day he's going to either kill Arjuna or he's going to make Krishna break his promise. And so Bhishma Dev was really after Arjuna, was almost going to kill him. So what did Krishna do? He said, I have promised that I'm not going to pick up a weapon, but I don't care about my promise. I need to protect my devotee Arjuna, and I want to please my devotee Bhishma, because Bhishma has also taken a promise that he wants to see me break my promise. So for Krishna, keeping the promise of his devotee is even higher than his own promise. So dear are the devotees to Krishna. So he said, I want to please Bhishma Dev. And because of that, he picked up the chariot of the wheel. Although it's not a proper weapon, but the mood of Krishna. And he was coming towards Bhishma to hurl this chariot wheel. And immediately when Bhishma saw that, he stopped the arrows and he joined his hand. He wanted to see it. Bhishma Dev is a Mahajan. He is a pure devotee of Krishna. So these are the loving relationships between Krishna and his devotees. Krishna makes sure that whatever his devotee says comes true. And so here Brahmaji is also saying that because I have fixed my mind at the lotus feet of Krishna, whatever I say, Krishna makes sure it happens. It has never proved to be false. We can see that even when Hiranyakashipu, he did great penances and to get the favor of Lord Brahma, because he wanted to become immortal. And so he tried so many things. I should be born neither by animal nor by any man, neither inside or outside, day or night, neither by any weapon. And so Krishna and Brahma said, okay, done, I give you all this. And so to keep Brahma's promise, Lord Nishingadev appeared to keep all the words of Lord Brahma. So Krishna is so kind to his devotees. So we should also try to become a devotee of Krishna. And then we will also be always protected by Krishna. Our words will also be protected by Krishna. So the devotees are especially protected by the Lord so that they may remain infallible. Therefore, the process of devotional service always begins in the service of the devotee who appears in disciplic succession. So how does our process of devotional service start? That we serve a devotee, a pure devotee who's coming in the parampara. Because a devotee will teach us how to serve Krishna. Right now we are following Srila Prabhupada. He's a pure devotee coming in the disciplic succession of Lord Brahma. And then Srila Prabhupada is teaching us, he's telling us, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He has translated for us the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in English. That's the reason we are here today, reading and chanting. So a pure devotee of Krishna is very, very dear to Krishna. The devotees are always liberated, but that does not mean that they are impersonal. So the devotees are liberated means they are factually in their true position of the soul. And they know that as the soul is there, they are part and parcel of Krishna, and they have a loving relationship with Krishna, and they are engaged in that relationship. So it's not that liberated means they become nothing, but they are engaged in a very loving, special relationship with Krishna. The Lord is a person eternally, and the devotee of the Lord is also a person eternally. Because the devotee has his sense organs even at the liberated stage, he is therefore a person always. So if we also become liberated, it doesn't mean we will cease to exist. We are never ever going to become zero or become nothing. No, we will always exist. And if we become pure, then we will get spiritual sense organs, spiritual senses, spiritual eyes, spiritual mouth. That's how a pure devotee has. His senses are fully transcendental. And because the devotee service is accepted by the Lord in full reciprocation, the Lord is also a person in his complete spiritual embodiment. So whenever we say love, means there's an exchange. There is the lover and the beloved. When we say service, there is one who serves and one who receives the service. So there is a reciprocation. So the Lord and his devotee eternally exist. There is the conception that everything becomes one is incorrect. The devotee's senses, being engaged in the service of the Lord, never go astray under the attraction of false material enjoyment. So because the devotee, he's so fixed, all he can see is Krishna and how to please Krishna. Because of his so much love for Krishna, he doesn't want to do anything else. The plans of the devotee never go in vain, and all this is due to the faithful attachment of the devotee for the service of the Lord. This is the standard of perfection and liberation. Anyone, beginning from Brahmaji down to the human being, is at once put on the path of liberation simply by his attachment in great earnestness for the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord. So, just by engaging in chanting, hearing and chanting is a transcendental activity. It is not of the material world because it is for Krishna, it's for the pleasure of Krishna. And by just doing this, it's a liberated activity. It's on the platform of the soul. So when we are engaging in chanting, we are not under Maya. We are liberated at that time. And gradually, the more we engage in it, the more we get purified. We will we will be situated on the platform of the truth, of the soul, as an eternal, in our eternal relationship with Krishna. So, and Lord Parvati Devi, she had also asked Lord Shiva that, my dear Lord, what is the best kind of worship? And Lord Shiva tells her that the best worship is the worship of Lord Vishnu. But better than the service of Lord Vishnu is to serve the devotees of Lord Vishnu. Because the devotees of Lord Vishnu are so dear to Krishna, and they are so compassionate and merciful that we serve a little bit to the devotee and they are ready to engage us in pure devotional service for our benefit. So the Lord affirms this in the Bhagavad Gita 14.26. Mamcha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Anyone, therefore, who earnestly, serious in heart and soul about being in intimate touch with the personality of Godhead in the relationship of transcendental loving service, will always be infallible in words and action. So if we are really serious, a pure devotee, he's serious about again being in touch with the Supreme Lord. A pure devotee is already in touch with the Supreme Lord. And so he has a loving relationship with Krishna. And then his action and words are pure, never fail. The reason is that the Supreme Lord is absolute truth, and anything earnestly dovetailed with the absolute truth attains the same transcendental quality. On the other hand, any amount of mental speculation on the strength of material science and knowledge without any bona fide touch with the absolute truth is sure to be a mundane untruth and failure, simply due to not being in touch with the absolute truth. So when we hear about Krishna, anything related to Krishna, his name, his glories, his form, his devotees, everything, it becomes the same, it attains the same quality as being transcendental. Why? Because it's regarding to Krishna. And then anything of our material knowledge, how much ever we speculate, how much ever we talk today about today's current affairs, today's news, whatever is truth today, but after 100 years, it's irrelevant. So much of the history of the earlier years, there is so much history and so much has been spoken about and thought about, books are written, but in today's world, it's irrelevant. The world is different, totally different. And the world is going to continue to remain totally different after around 100 years. But the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which are coming from 5,000 years ago, are still relevant today. They are still very applicable to us today, as it was done 5,000 years ago. Why? Because it's speaking about Krishna. It's speaking about us, the souls. It is the eternal truth of a relationship with Krishna. That can never be changed. We can never stop becoming souls, and Krishna can never stop becoming God, you know? So such godless, unfaithful words and actions, however materially enriched, are never to be trusted. So, but for example, today we might speak about some famous president or prime minister, and we might speak, either glorify him or either condemn him. But after 5,000 years, it will be irrelevant, totally irrelevant. That is the purport of this important verse. A grain of devotion is more valuable than tons of faithlessness. So if we can just somehow get devotion for Krishna, that is permanent to our eternal benefit, that can never go away. And how can we get devotion? By being in touch, associating with the pure devotees, because they have devotion, so they can teach us, they can give us this devotion. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So, any comments? Anybody would like to share anything? If no, then we can go to the next one, text 35. Let's see how much are we able to read today. Soham samam nayam manas tapomayaha prajapatinam abhivandita patihi asthaya yogam nipunam samahitas tam nadaya gacham yata atma sambhavaha. Although I am known as the great Brahma, perfect in the disciplic succession of Vedic wisdom, and although I have undergone all austerities and am an expert in mystic powers and self-realization, and although I am recognized as such by the great forefathers of the living entities who offer me respectful obeisances, still I cannot understand him, the Lord, the very source of my birth. Now, Lord Brahma is saying he is perfect in he's received the discipline, he's received the Vedas directly from Krishna, you know, from the original source. And Lord Brahma has done so much austerities, and he has mystic powers. He's creating the whole universe. Can you imagine the secondary creation? He's giving the shape to all of us. He knows what's happening. Like, for example, if we are the CEO of our organization, so we know exactly what's happening, who's doing what and who's supposed to do what. And if we are in the house, a housewife, then we know exactly what is the system our house has to follow, where everything is kept, how things have to be done. So Lord Brahma knows about this, about the whole universe, you know. And then everybody offers him respect because he's the most qualified person in this universe. He's the highest of all of us. But he says he still cannot understand the Lord, who is the very source of his birth. Even Lord Brahma cannot fully understand the Lord. The Lord is unlimited, unconceivable, and we are tiny, tiny. Even Lord Brahma is a tiny Jivatma, although he's very, very qualified, very qualified. So we can know the Lord to the degree that he allows us to know him. You know, the degree he reveals himself to us, that much we can know the Lord. And how does the Lord reveal himself to us? When he sees our sincerity, when we are sincerely trying to chant his holy names, sincerely trying to hear about him, sincerely associating with the devotees, then to that degree, the Lord reveals himself to us. Brahma, the greatest of all living creatures within the universe, is admitting his failure to know the Supreme Lord despite his vast learning in the Vedic wisdom, despite his austerity, penance, mystic powers, and self-realization, and despite being worshipped by the great Prajapatis, the forefathers of the living entities. So these qualifications are not sufficient to know the Supreme Lord. Brahmaji could understand the Lord to a little extent only when he was trying to serve him by the eagerness of his heart, hridayot kantayat vata, which is devotional service mood. Therefore, the Lord can be known only by the sincere mood of eagerness for service, and not by any amount of material qualification as scientist or speculative philosopher, or by attainment of mystic powers. So if we are just going to try to say that I'm going to do a lot of research work, I'm going to think, I'm going to do a lot of yoga, get a lot of magic, I can do magic, I can do a lot of austerity, do a lot of fasts, give a lot of charity, a lot of penances, nothing is going to help us to know Krishna. Nothing. Only by devotional service, only by hearing and chanting about him in a service mood, with a sincere mood, then Krishna can reveal himself. This fact is clearly corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita 18.54 to 55. Brahma bhuta prasanatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. Only self-realization by attainment of the above high qualifications of Vedic wisdom, austerity, etc. can help one on the path of devotional service. But failing in devotional service, one remains still imperfect, because even in that position of self-realization, one cannot factually know the Supreme Lord. By self-realization, one is qualified to become a devotee, and the devotee, by service mode, bhaktya only, can gradually know the personality of Godhead. So even if we become liberated by doing a lot of charity, lot of knowledge, you know, how the Gyanis, they reach the Brahma Jyoti. So they are on the liberated platform, that we are situated on the platform of the soul, that I know in truth, I'm not this body, I'm the soul. So if I reach up to that platform, but I don't engage in devotional service, I don't hear and chant the holy names of the Lord, I don't worship the Lord, I don't worship his deity form, or I don't hear about him, what will happen? I will fall down from this position. If not today, after 1,000,000 years, you know. But if I really reach that position that I'm the soul, I factually realize I'm the soul, then once I hear and chant the holy names of the Lord, and I develop this service attitude, gradually, I will be situated in my loving relationship with the Lord. That's how the position of the 4 Kumaras was. They were already on the Brahman platform. They were already on the platform that I'm the soul, I'm not this body. And immediately when they smelled the tulsi leaves that were offered to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, they became pure devotees. Same with Sukadev Goswami. He was also Brahman realized that I'm not the body, I'm the soul. And then when he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, Vyasadev, he became a pure devotee. And then Srimad Bhagavatam became even more sweeter. It was always relished by the pure devotees, by the liberated devotees, but it became even more sweeter because it's spoken by the lotus mouth of Srila Sukadev Goswami. You know, so the success of anything is when we engage in devotional service. So one should not, however, misunderstand the import of Vishate enters into as referring to merging into the existence of the Supreme. Even in material existence, one is merged in the existence of the Lord. No materialist can disentangle the self from matter, for the self is merged in the external energy of the Lord. As no layman can separate butter from milk, no one can extricate the merged self from matter by acquiring some material qualification. So when we say merged, it doesn't mean that we enter into the body of the Lord and become nothing. No, It is right now also we are in this, inside the material body of the Lord, inside the universal body of the Lord. You know, so, but we still exist. We are still individuals. We can't deny that. So this Vishate by devotion, bhaktya, means to be able to participate in the association of the Lord in person. Bhakti or devotional service to the Lord means to become free from material entanglement and then to enter into the kingdom of God, becoming one like him. So becoming one like him, what does it mean? Does it mean that we are going to become Krishna? Right now that I'll hear and chant his names and I'll worship his deity, I'll do puja and arti for Krishna, I'll chant the Hare Krishna mantra, I'll read Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And does it mean that after I leave this body, and then I'm going to become like Krishna, I'm going to go inside his body? No, it means that we are going to have the same quality, the Satchidananda, you know. And of course, if we go to one of the Vaikuntha planets, we can have the same form as the Lord in one of those planets, you know. Losing one's individuality is not the aim of Bhakti Yoga or of the devotees of the Lord. There are 5 types of liberation, one of which is called Sayujya Mukti, or being merged into the existence or body of the Lord. The other forms of liberation maintain the individuality of the particle soul and involve being always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So the Sayujya Mukti, which the impersonalists say, entering into the body of the Lord, that is not truly mukti or not truly liberation, because it is still a place from where we are going to come down to the material world, because we have not yet entered into the spiritual planets. We still don't have the shelter of any particular planet. So
Sayujya Mukti is entering the Brahma Jyoti.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And the devotees don't even regard this as liberation. The devotees say this is a hellish place. That because what are we going to do there millions of years? Just sit there and do nothing? But how can I serve the Lord? The devotees are so eager to please Krishna, and by pleasing Krishna, the devotee gets himself pleased. You know, by hearing and chanting, by dancing in front of the deity, by chanting in front of Krishna, we feel happy. That happiness is experienced by us. So in the Brahma Jyoti, there is no personal Krishna, there's no loving reciprocation with him. So the happiness is surely there, but it's compared to the happiness which is contained in the hoof print of a calf. So tiny. A calf is so tiny. So the hoof print is so tiny, and the water in that is so tiny. But engaging in devotional service is compared to an ocean, the water contained in an ocean. And so we can swim and jump and dive deep into that ocean of bhakti, in the ocean of nectar. You know? So the word Vishate used in the verses of Bhagavad Gita is thus meant for the devotees who are not at all anxious for any kind of liberation. The devotees are satisfied simply in being engaged in the service of the Lord, regardless of the situation. So what does a pure devotee want? Pure devotee just says, I just want to serve the Lord. He's happy. He gets as much pleasure or more pleasure than the Lord by just serving the Lord. You know, when we accept the prasad in the temple, we feel so happy. Our hearts are full. And that is serving the Lord. Imagine we are eating, but that's serving the Lord. Why? Because we are accepting his prasad. You know, or when we are hearing and chanting about him, our hearts feel full. Our hearts feel blissful. So that is what is being satisfies the pure devotee. So, but we are not yet on the pure platform. The more we continue hearing and chanting, the more we'll get purified. So we always still have to keep the desire that I want to go out of this material world, go to Goloka Vrindavan, in one of the spiritual planets, be engaged in devotional service over there. Not that we reach Goloka planet and then we become Krishna and order everybody. No, over there also we engage in devotional service. Is that okay?
Yes.
So then we can stop here for today. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hari Hari Bol. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hari Bol.